Hello Flight Simmers, this is FSXtreames here. Now today I'm in the PMDG 737 NGX and I will be giving you a short tutorial on how to start it. At the moment we're currently in a state which is called cold and dark, where the plane is shut off to a point where there's no electrical power running through the aircraft, which it's really in a state where everything in the aircraft is turned off and there's nothing really turned on. Now if I show you the exterior view, the plane is pretty dead looking. It's not got any engines running, we haven't got the APU running at all, we haven't got any electrical power, no lights on, so the plane is in a cold and dark state. Now in this video I'm going to give you a short tutorial on how to bring it from cold and dark to ready to taxiing. I will probably in future videos do from taxiing state through to takeoff, and possibly then from all the way through, possibly doing a whole flight and then doing a landing tutorial and then probably a shutdown tutorial. But for this video we're just going to do a tutorial on how to get the plane started. So get back into the cockpit, everything will load up. Okay, so first thing we want to do is make sure the parking brake is set. Second thing we want to do is we want to turn on the battery. So the battery is located on the overhead. You just flick the switch and we have now got a whole lot of electric lights popping up. Second thing to do is to make sure that this switch here is set to battery, or BAT, whatever you want to call it, and the AC, which is the one next to it, is set to ground power. Okay, and electric hydraulic pumps, which are these two that are switched off at the moment, you want to make sure that those are off. You also want to make sure that the standby power disconnect 1 and 2 are guarded. So that's these two here. You can pop them up, so you just really don't want to flick those. So when it says guarded, you just want to make sure that this is the guard here. You just want to make sure these are covered, like so. You want to make sure the standby power is guarded, so the guard shut. Now also, while I'm actually doing this, I'm following this off a checklist. So if you would like me to make this checklist available, I can post the link in the description and it may give you a little helping hand. For me it's very handy. It's probably one of the better checklists out of the ones you can probably get. Okay, so let's continue with our startup. I want to make sure the bus transfer, which is this one here, is guarded. Now's the time that we're going to connect external power. If we go to the outside view again, we currently have no external accessories really connected to the aircraft. So if you want to connect some, which we're going to connect now, we'll connect the ground power. I want to go down. If this gets in the way as well, it's quite handy. You can actually click on the yoke and it'll pop down, so you can actually access some of the things that are hidden behind it. So we'll just clear this message. Now to connect the ground power, you want to go into FSXtreames, ground connections, make sure the wheel chocks are on as well, because that's kind of handy. We'll turn the ground power to connected, and now we have ground power. So if we have a look up here, this switch here is the ground power switch. So at the moment it's currently off, but it's light illuminated saying that the ground power is available. Before I do that, I did want because I can't be bothered using the jetway, I'm going to show you this really cool feature that you can do. If you go into doors, open the main entry so that you can operate all your doors through the FMC, main exit opening up there. Now, there's this really cool thing that you can equip in your plane. It's called an air stair. What it is, let me just open it for you. I'll go to the outside view and show you. Here, a few things popping up now. See, the air stair pops out, and really what it is you activate it in the FMC, the stairway will come out, and so your passengers can get off. So really, you don't need to get a truck to come over from an airport where there's no jetways. At our airport there is, I just want to show you that though, so that's not really normal. But some people may think, oh, well, no airlines have that, and that's not real. But really, I have a picture, I might post that up somewhere, of a Ryanair Air 737 with its stairway coming out. So that's quite cool. So we'll just leave that on open for now. Let some passengers in, so we'll go back to the main menu. If you do want to equip that, you can go into PMDG setup, aircraft, and you can go into equipment. Now in here you have 11 pages, and you can sort the pages by clicking these next page buttons. You can equip your plane to suit you. Usually when you get a livery, whatever how you call it, livery, but when you get a livery, usually PMDG set it the options in here to how the airline actually has it in real life. So some of the aircraft aren't accurate, and they'll usually have like an apostrophe or something next to it telling you if it's actually been verified that these options are actually on their actual aircraft. But dual battery package, there's a eyebrow windows. If I just enable that, if you have a look up now, I'm pretty sure it's those ones. Yeah, it's these ones up here. You have windows up here. Call them eyebrow windows. Go to the outside view. Now they add these. Let me zoom in a bit. Eyebrow windows. They kind of do look like eyebrows there if you call those the eyes, I guess. But add these. Usually some airlines have them. I think they personally look a bit ugly, so don't tend to have them. But personal touch if you want it, I guess. So I'm just going to turn that back off and hope that usually that'll disappear what's up there. Yeah, see, that's gone now. So yeah, and it updates it as soon as you do it on here as well. Yoke checklist and yoke checklist for the first officer and the captain. I'm pretty sure that's just this here. I mean, it's not the best checklist there is, but it's just really just a brief checklist. Like you just click this and it'll go down to the next item so you remember where you are. Put that back up. Let's go to the next page. Altitude callouts. These are for... So when you're landing, you'll have your altitude callouts when you pass below 2,500 feet. It'll give you a callout telling you that you're going past there with 100, 500, depending on what the aircraft, or the airline has actually set for this, so you can change it on PMDG. So there's several that are off. I mean, you can have them all on if you want a lot of them like that, but yeah. Okay, next page. Approach minimums call. This doesn't have a minimums call. I personally like the minimums call. It's quite a cool touch, I think. Bank angle, callouts, terrain, peaks, mode, show water and cyan. I don't know what that does. Oh, I think it might be do something around here. There's something to do with that, but not quite sure of that. But go back into the main menu. Okay, let's continue. So we're at the ground power, so we'll turn it on, and as soon as you turn it on, you're going to hear a whole of air conditioning and power sound come up. So now you've got a whole lot of air conditioning going now. Now that the ground power is connected, we've got to check that the landing gear is down, which it is. Dual FMC operation restore. Just click that message. Okay. Now comes to the engine fire tests. So what you're going to do is there's a switch down here and a switch over there. We'll start with the switch over here. You want to click it. So with PMDG, what they have It's when you left click, it'll push the switch to the left or up or down. So yeah, so when you click it left, these two lights, well, I was hoping that would hold. Yes it is. So these two lights here, well, that's gone weird, will illuminate. Fault and APU detent in operation. If those two light, what is wrong with the ground? Illuminate, then you're all good. So that's test is done. Now when you push the switch to the right, you're going to hear a whole lot of alarm bells, and all these buttons, three switches here, I'm losing my mind today, will illuminate, and a bell will ring. And if you look up here, you'll see overheat, detent. Just clear that for now. And the bells are ringing, engine 1 overheat, engine 2 overheat, and wheel well. They're all illuminating, so the test is fine, so we can set that back to the center position. Now, if I go to the co-pilot's view, oh, what view is that? That's not what I wanted. Let me just do it through here. It's the FO seat, isn't it? There we go. Okay. Now, over here, we have this test here. So what you want to do is left click and right click this, so push the switch to the left and the right, and these three green lights should all illuminate. If they do, then the test is going as it should, so that's great. So I'll go back to we'll have a look outside actually. So at the moment, the outside you'll have a few navigation lights on, and you see we can see the ground power unit that we put on down there, so the ground power. And the aircraft isn't looking too much different, other than you can hear air conditioning sounds in the background. The air stairs out, and we have ground power connected. Also notice that there are wheel chocks, connected. So before we depart, we'll take those off, because we don't want to have those there. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to be able to move. So go back to the cockpit and let's continue. Okay, now that we've done the engine fire test, we're going to make sure that the position lights, which is the nav really, and if I go to the wing view, the nav lights are that light that you can't really see it on that wing. Let's go to the other, that light there, and go to the outside view I showed you before. The nav light is on both sides, so green and red. So those are just what the position lights. You don't have to check that those are on, you just want to make sure that the switch is down to set to steady. Okay, and then you want to make sure the engine bleed switches 1 and 2 are set off. So just make sure these are the engine bleed switches, just make sure they're in the up position. Then we go to the APU bleed switch, which is the one in the middle. Just switch that off, up position, so these three switches are up. Then we'll go to the left fuel pump. Now before we do this, because I probably should have done this a bit earlier, but if I go into FSXtreames, you can actually change the fuel in the menu. So I'll just, because we're not really going to do a flight at the moment, I'm just showing you how to start it up. We'll just set it to 1/3. I might do a little flight, but yeah. Okay, so now that the fuel's set, oh, and by the way, also in FSXtreames, you can set your payload. So that's all your passengers. You can set random, it'll give you a random amount of passengers. And yeah, it'll tell you how many first class, coach class, depending on what the airline has equipped it with. Okay, so now that we've done that, we want to turn the fuel pump, the left aft fuel pump, which is this one here, to on. You'll hear a little sound come up, and that's the fuel pump operating. You then want to start the APU. APU is the switch here. Click it once and then click it again. Go into the start position and turn to on. And you'll see in a minute it'll say pop up with low pressure for a little bit, and this needle here will rise and then it'll come back down again. And then this light here will illuminate APU generator bus. And then once that's happened, we will turn the APU generators on, so we have power from the generators of the APU, and we will then switch off the ground power because we're not going to be using it, and we'll probably disconnect it. So while the APU is revving up, wait for it to come up. Also, usually it is up here as well. It's quite cool. Let me bring up the panel. Okay, here you have pretty much all your doors that are on the plane. So there, I don't know if you can read there. I can't read it very well, but that says forward exit. I'm pretty sure. Let me go out of the panel and have a look. Forward entry. Yeah. Oh, open to there. And that one there's the air stair. So that's just the air stair that we have open. Is the APU on yet? Yes, it is. So the APU generator bus is illuminated. So we can turn those generators on, both sides. Now the generator switch is on, we want to go up to the AC voltmeter, which is this one here, and just set it to APU generator. And that'll just pop up some information up here on the voltage and the amps that the APU is producing for us. With the APU bleed switch, usually you would have to wait about a minute before you turn on the bleed air, but for the sake of it, we'll just turn it on now. We're then going to test the lead devices, which is up on the aft overhead, the very upper overhead, whatever you want to call it. And this is pretty much just testing that the flaps are all working. So they should all illuminate. And if it does, then that's all great. You can release the test switch. Then we'll come down up to the IRS displays over here. And this one here, flick it, make sure all the lights here illuminate. And then right click it and just set it to PPOS. And then we'll come up to the align over here. Now you want to right click these, so we're going to set it to nav, so set them there. These are on DC at the moment, they'll turn to align. So now that's done, the oxygen and crew passengers, so the crew and passenger oxygen, which is, I'm pretty sure it's this one here, passenger oxygen. Yeah, it's that, isn't it? Yeah, normal. So you just want to make sure this is set to normal. So if we open the protector, come on, let me open it. It's not letting me open it today. Not today. Okay. Oh well, but the switches, and you just want to make sure that's guarded. Okay, we'll go through. Now we have a marked airspeed warning. Now these are just testing overspeed pretty much. So when you go overspeed, it'll usually play a sound. Actually this sound. So you want to just click these two buttons, click that one, make sure you hear the sound, and same with the right one. Then we'll go into the stall warning sounds and just make sure those are working on it. So we'll go the mark airspeed warning test number 1. You'll hear the sound, so that's all good, and we'll go to number 2. You're hearing the sound, so that's all good as well. Now onto the stall warning. I've had previous problems where I've tried to do the stall warning and one of them doesn't work properly, but if you leave it for a little bit it does, so hopefully it works. So we'll start with airspeed number 1. You hear the sound, and we'll go to number 2, and that's working. Okay, cool, so they're all working this time. Now that we've done the warnings, we want to go equipment, cooling, supply, and exhaust switches, which are, where are they? There. These ones here. Just make sure they're set to normal, so they're in the up position. Then we want to go to the recirculation fans, which of course this is the air conditioning panel if you didn't know. So you just want to make sure those are set to auto, so flip them down. I hear a few fans rev up. Okay, now for the air conditioning panel, we're going to have the, because we have the APU bleed air on, we want to make sure the bleed air is on, which is the APU. We want to make sure that the isolation valve, this one here, is set to auto, and the packs are both on, set to auto. Okay, now that we've done that, we want to arm the emergency lights, which is zoom out a bit so I can actually see. There's one here, so you just flick the guard and it'll come over, and the light should, not arms, should be extinguished. Okay, now we'll go to the no smoking sign. This plane doesn't really have a no smoking sign. It has a chime thing here. I haven't really been able to... I'm just assuming this is a no smoking sign. So just flick that to down. I'm pretty sure it's not. I think it's just a thing that the captain can play with and just go ding 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 and play along with it. But yeah, we'll just assume that... Well, I assume it's the no smoking sign, so we'll just set that down. And the seatbelt sign is off for now because we don't have any passengers on yet. And down here the flap lever is up, which it is. Then we come down to the overhead preparation checklist, and we want to make sure that the standby hydraulic low pressure and low quantity lights are extinguished, which they are. I'm pretty sure what am I looking at? The standby hydraulic. Oh, okay. Standby hydraulic. I'm pretty sure, I'm not quite sure where that is, but I'm assuming it's over here somewhere. But because this checklist kind of goes in a down, if you noticed, they're probably up here. Standby hydraulics. Here we go. Yeah, here they are. So these are extinguished, so we're all good. Flight control switches A and B. Both guarded. Alternate flaps are set to off, and the alternate flaps is guarded. Spoiler switch A and B are guarded as well, and the yaw damper switch is on. Just wait for the yaw damper light to extinguish, which it has. Then I've used today. So where were we? Up here. We want to make sure that the VHF, nav and IRS switches are set to normal, which they are, and the FMC switch, sorry, is set to normal as well, which it is. Navigation display source down here, set to auto, and the navigation display control panel is normal as well. There we go. Then we come down to the fuel crossfeed. Now do a test, so you turn the crossfeed on, the open valve should illuminate and then dim a little bit. That's great, and then you turn the crossfeed off, it should brighten and then turn off, which it has. Great. Now we come down to fuel pumps. Because we've only got the APU running, we only need the left aft one on at the moment. We have no fuel in the center pump, so we don't need to worry about those switches. These four, these three, four, well there's four here, aren't there? These four here all have fuel in them, so we're just using the aft left pump at the moment for the APU fuel, and these three will turn on before we start our pushback and start our engines. Okay, now we come down to the auxiliary transfer, fuel transfer. Oh, actually no, don't worry about that, that's on the different 737. It gives you different options if you're flying different ones, so that's for the BBJ2 and BBJ3, so that's not us, we're the NG, so we're fine. Now the DC voltmeter TR, TR2 and TR3, just up here. I'm guessing, I don't know exactly what you're meant to do with these. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of test. You just have a look at them, just make sure they're okay. But we'll set that back to battery. Okay. Where was I? Here we are. Okay. DC voltmeter selector, that's set to battery again, so that's fine. Already did that. cabin utility and the IFE passengers are set on. So yeah. Usually with the on this checklist, when you've shut it all down, most of the switches here would be off, but with the PMDG's cold and dark, it doesn't do that. It kind of sets it to a similarly, kind of close to cold and dark, but not as cold and dark as I would think to be it would be. But let's continue anyway. Okay, we made sure that the emergency cooling supply and exhaust switches, which, if I recall, probably up here somewhere. I'm not too sure. Now the align switches are flashing because I haven't done it in the FMC yet. It looks like, no, it's not. Okay, we won't worry about that. That doesn't seem to be important. I can't seem to find it, so just skip that. Okay, we'll go to the. Oh no, those equipment, those are there. Sorry, yeah. So just make sure those are normal. That's all good. Oh, I'm losing my brain tonight, aren't I? Okay. Then we go to the emergency exit lights, which are armed already. That's great. And then we'll go to the no smoking sign, which is already on. I'm assuming that's a... just pretend that's the no smoking sign. Chime, don't know what that is. But, okay. And seatbelt sign is off, we don't need it on at the moment. The left and right wiper switches are set off. Or park, just park's pretty much off, so, yep. And the window heat, overheat, and power tests. So we'll come up to the window heat. So overheat, and these four switches up here should ignite. Ignite, what am I on about? They should pop up. And the power test, these four switches will light up. And you can set it back to the center position. Then you want to turn your window heat on, so that's these four switches here. And the on light should illuminate. Then we'll go to the probe heat here. These two are off. We'll turn that on after we've started, so just leave that off for now. And then we'll go to the wing anti-ice. Don't need it on at the moment. Really, it's daytime. It's not cold. If we have a look out here, 15 degrees centigrade. That's fine. That's pretty much the default. Flight Simulator seems that 15 degrees is. I did a bit of research on it for school, but 15 degrees is the average temperature. So Flight Simulator seems to just 15 degrees all the time. I think I've just got it in clear weather at the moment. I haven't got any stuff on, so well, we're not going to be doing any flying in this video, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. Then we go down to the engine anti-ice, which is off as well. So that's the wing, that's the engines, these two over here. And then we'll go to the electric hydraulic pumps, 1 and 2. So the engine one's on, and the electric one's off. So that's good for now. We'll be changing those before we start. Cockpit voice recorder. You hold the green button, and the green button next to it should illuminate, and the test is complete, so just release that. Then you come down to the engine start switches, which are these ones here. Now these is what you turn to start the engine, so we'll do that in a minute when we get there. We're not going to create a flight plan, so we'll just get on with the start, so we're not going to mess around with the FMC. Don't want to make the video too long. Okay, so now that you've got that all done, so then make sure those are off, by the way. Okay, now we come up to the air conditioning. Those are all set, so the air conditioning is just up here, the air conditioning up here is all set, so that's fine. And the trim air, that is on, which is here. Okay, so we were at the trim air, weren't we? So air conditioning selector, these ones here are set to auto, which they are. Now we will go to the recirculation fans, left and right, which are already set to on auto actually. And the wing body overheat test. So just test that. Let's move my camera down a bit. Test, and these two lights should illuminate, so you can just release that. Then we'll come to the packs, left and right. They are both set to auto at the moment. And the isolation valve set to open. The engine bleed switches 1 and 2. Turn them on because we're just about to start the engines. It'll come up with dual bleed up the top. Illuminated up there. And now we'll come to the pressurization panel. Now, depending on how high you're going to climb, if I just bring up my thing here, how high are we at the moment? We are... Where's my altitude? There. So this one here goes up on 50 because we're closest. We're closer to 0 than we are to 50 in that. So you just set that because that's our landing altitude. So that's what altitude we are at the moment. Now here and here, this is your flight altitude. You want to set that to what altitude you're going to climb to. So we'll just keep it 10,000 for now. And the exterior lights are as required. We don't need any other lights on at the current time. Now we don't need to program the FMC yet because we're not going to be making a flight. I may make a video in future that will explain that. And we'll just ignore all this programming and we come to the flight displays down here. Now, while we do align the FMC, we should probably do something. We go into the FMC, position, initial. Now we want to program our displays up here because at the moment it's just got a whole lot of crud on it that is not displaying any information that we want. So we want to align it by telling the computer our position. So we'll just go next page and click on the GPS left and go to the previous page and just paste that massive number in there. Now if we come back up here, we have some data now. We have our artificial horizon. Oh, that's a nice jetway over there. And our heading and our map. And we'll just set our altimeter now. It's 2992, that's fine. Okay, so that's all we have to do with the FMC for now if you're just gonna start it up without making a flight, if you know what I mean. But for now, otherwise it's gonna be an hour video on stuff that's unimportant. So, we will continue. We want to make sure that the N1 gauge is set to auto and the speed reference is set to auto. Fuel flow, click that up to reset, and back to center. Set the auto brake to RTO, rejected takeoff, make sure the auto brake disarm extinguishes. And then we will come down to the parking brake, which is set. Speed brake lever is down. Thrust levers are idle, they are. And the reverse levers are down and the flaps are up. The engine start levers are cut off. And the stabilizer trim is set to normal. Stabilizer trim is those there, they're set to normal. And the takeoff warning horns. Now to test the warning horns, because we have the engines on, we're safe to advance these levers. It's not going to do anything. So if we just advance them, you'll hear a little horn go off. You can hear that there. And that's just telling you that, oh no, you can't advance the levers because there's something wrong. Or something you haven't set up properly. Because we haven't got our engines on, it won't be expecting us to do a takeoff yet, so it's beeping at us, what are you doing, what are you doing? So, it's pretty much just a warning horn telling you if you were going to take off and the horns went off, you would probably commit a rejected takeoff because there's something wrong and the aircraft doesn't want to let you take off. Okay, so we will continue with the communications panel. At the moment, we'll just set it default. There's nothing we're going to tune into. Now we want to come over to the nav radios that are over here. Nothing there. We're not going to be tuning into an ILS yet, so yeah. The audio panel, yeah, just set that. Don't really need to play that, I'll just set that down anyway. Then we will come to the rudder and aileron trim, which is down here and here. Just leave those alone. Just make sure that the rudder is 0 and these are in their center position. Then we'll come down to the transponder, we'll set it. It's set to 1200 at the moment, which is the default flight simulator transponder code, which is fine. And we'll do a test, click the test button, and just make sure the displays are coming up and popping up with this, and it'll give us, telling us that the test is complete.
TCAS test pass.
Which it has, so that's all good. We then come, that's complete with the pre-flight. Now we want to come to the before pushback and ready to push before start checklist. Let's call it that. Now, okay, so yep, you come up to the fuel pumps. Make sure these ones down here, because these ones have no fuel. Make sure that these ones, the ones that do have fuel on, are on. Then we come to the APU generator switches. They are on, so that's all good. And the seatbelt sign, now that we're about to depart, is set to on. Hydraulic pumps A, which is this one here, they're letter coded the hydraulic pumps. A are off, so turn that to off, and the B are on. See the low pressure on the electrical extinguish. And we come down to the CDU display, and our options are fine. I'm not really going to change any of our display setting. They're fine for now. Then we're going to go to the flight deck doors and windows, so we'll go into the menu, we'll go FS actions into the doors page, and we'll close the main door and the air stair. Go outside and watch this pack up. So the door's closed, and the air stair is packing itself away. Neat stair, I reckon. Great. I can't wait till I go on a plane that actually has one of those, because that'll be quite cool, I think. But, it's back to the cockpit. Okay, now that the door's closed, the ground equipment. Make sure we have no ground equipment. We have ground power, disconnect that, and the wheel chocks, get rid of them. Back to the menu, into the FMC. Not that we're using it. And stabilizer trim, confirm green, which they are. Stabilizer trim, that's this one here. Well, kind of both of them really. Just make sure it's in the green area for takeoff, which it is, so that's green. So that's that little needle there's for telling you where the trim is currently at. So that's in the green area, so we're all fine with that. And we want to turn on our anti-collision lights, telling the ground crew that we are about to start our engine. So we'll turn that on. And if we go to the outside, you'll now see a whole lot of flashing lights. You'll see that one there, it'll flash. And there'll be one on the bottom of the plane that flashes as well. Is that flashing? It doesn't look to me like it is. Oh, there we go, now it is. So, it's those flashing. Back into the cockpit. And that's the before start checklist. So, let's get ready to go. So, for the engine start, set the packs to off. You'll set the isolation valve to auto. And then we'll check the duct pressure gauge up here. It's displaying correctly, which it is. Oh, where'd my camera go? There we go. So, we will release the brakes. Just do a default flight simulator pushback, so brakes off. And then for me, I will shift P and set the engine 2 to ground. Now we'll monitor the lower ECAM down here. whatever the Boeing calls it. I'm kind of used to Airbus. But N2 here, which is this number here popping up, when that gets to 20 you want to set the control switch down here to on, so it has, so we'll set that up. And now up, if we monitor up here, that you can see the N1 is slowly rising and the low pressure will extinguish, which it has. And once the engine has started, this will flick back to off, and then we'll start engine 2. Watch my pushback. This seems a bit fast. No, maybe it's not, I don't know. It'll flick back and set that to continuous and start engine number 1, set that to ground. And again, watch for the 20 on the N2. And once it gets there, set the cutoff on the fuel control switches to idle, or fuel flow, what do you want to call it. And the N1 is rising slowly. There we go, now it is. And the EGT is coming up. Oh, we're not really on the taxiway, but we seem to be coming on the taxi line, so that's okay. I won't do any taxiing. I might do like a tiny bit of taxiing to show you, but yeah, we'll stop our pushback there. So shift P, and we'll set the parking brakes, and that's set back to normal. So we'll set that continuous. Now we'll do the after start checklist. So the engine generator switches 1 and 2, we want to turn these on. And after we've turned those generator switches on, we want to set the what did I just say? The A hydraulic switches on. I'm mumbling a bit today, aren't I? Okay. After you've done that, you want to set the AC voltmeter selector, which this is the AC is here, the DC is here. So AC will set to generator 1 or generator 2. We'll just set it generator 1 for now, and we'll check generator 2. Yep, that's fine. Okay. Then we're going to set the engine bleed switches, make sure they're both on, and they are. And now, because we are not going to be using it, set the APU's bleed off, and the APU bleed, it's off. Now that you've turned the APU bleed off, we can come up here and we can turn the probe heat switches on. Turn those on. Which we have, that's all good. And then, after we've done the probe heat, we will make sure that the master caution system, which is this one here, has no light. You can recall it on both sides, and if you followed my startup, then this light shouldn't be illuminating. Cool. So now that you've checked that there's no light on there, make sure the anti-ice are off for me, because when you'll need the anti-ice on when your TAT, which is here, the outside temperature, is below 15 degrees. No, sorry, below 10 degrees. So mine's above 10 degrees, so I don't need it on, but if it was below 10 degrees, you would turn the anti-ice on, I'm assuming. Okay, now we will come to the packs, set them both to auto, and make sure the isolation valve is auto as well. The hydraulic system, all good. Lights are off, so that's great. And taxi clearance, we have no ATC, so we are fine. Now for the taxi, you would let me do a little bit of taxiing. You'd release the parking brake. You would turn on runway turn off, left and right, and your taxi lights on. and you would set your flaps to the position in which you would have them in your flight plan. For me, I usually have them as 5, and you'll see up here, zoom in a bit, the flaps gauge will slowly come up to 5, and the lead flaps transit and the lead flaps extension, and it'll stop there. Cool. Okay, so after you've done that, you will check your flight controls. So let's bring this up again. So you go left, so a bit to the left. We'll go outside actually for this. So you see the left coming up, go to the right, it's coming up, we'll go to the neutral, we'll set the yoke to neutral, we'll pull back on the yoke, we'll bring it up and down, make sure the elevators are moving while you're doing this, and back to neutral, and with the rudder to the left, make sure that it's moving, and to the right, and back to neutral. So that's the flight control system checked. Back to the cockpit, and that is it for the before taxi checklist. So apply a little bit of thrust, and we'll turn. Actually, we'll make a left turn because that's a bit less of a turn. Do a bit of taxiing. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it gave you a few tips how to get your aircraft started, and hopefully, because with me I was kind of experimenting with it, how to get the thing started when I knew nothing about the 737, but now that I've learnt a bit, it is becoming quite easy to recall all this stuff. And I've only been flying the NGX for, oh actually not that long, I've got maybe 15-16 hours on the NGX, not too many, but I'm slowly learning, and hopefully you will be too. So yeah, so we'll see you in the next video. I don't know what I'll be doing in the next video. My next video will probably be possibly takeoff and cruise, something like that. But yeah, this is FSXtreames. Like and subscribe, comment. You like the video? Is there anything I could improve on? Yeah. Is there anything I did wrong that I could correct? Love to know. So yeah, see you then. Bye bye.